Thank y'all for being patient with me.
I always am.
Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Hauk.
I'm Maddy Grace Webben.
And I'm Anthony Lerma.
And
Let's go.
Today we'll be playing the second part of Suikoden 2. We'll be playing a little bit too much of Suikoden 2, but before we get to all of that, I guess I don't normally say where we stopped. We are either stopping at the twist or when we are elected leader of the city-state for some fucking reason. One of those two. But before we get all of that, how was everybody's week?
My week was long.
Expound on that.
No. Nothing like traumatic happened. It was just so long and difficult for normal reasons.
That shit sucks.
Yeah. And now I'm really tired and grumpy, so no one test me this evening, okay?
All right. My week it didn't feel long. It felt like it went by in a flash, but it was very, very trying and continues to be. Nothing bad happened, but the good things that happened were very emotionally exhausting. You know how it is. I don't even remember most of it, but the main thing that y'all know, because I was yelling about it yesterday, is that I guess all of this happened in the last week. Yeah, I got pulled to become a package delivery driver for UPS, which made me yell and scream a whole lot and be very excited. That happened in the last 2 days. I already told you that. And then after that, there was a lot of like, what do I do next? What are the next steps? How do I move towards this? Right. But the main issue is that I had to get a DOT physical, aka a physical that is required by the U.S. Department of Transport in order to do any kind of work like this. So I had to get a physical, but it was kind of annoyingly hard to get one, actually. They kept being like, oh, we're all full, stuff like that. So it actually was a bit of a pain in the butt. But I managed to finally do it on Tuesday, which is good because the following day, Wednesday, I needed to have it done by. Not as like a hard, you've got to have it done or we're not going to hire you thing, but it was like you're coming in to do shit on Wednesday, so you should have your paperwork. Anyway, I managed to do it. But then on Wednesday, aka yesterday, I had all this HR stuff, filling out paperwork and stuff. But more importantly, I had my road test, which it's not like the end of, it's like I haven't gone through training yet. It's just like you got to have your road test before you can even, start your training. And basically, they show you the UPS delivery truck and they show you how it works. And then you sit in the big boy chair and drive the truck around. And I mean, I've been driving for 15 years, but I've been driving a normal-sized car, and I've only driven a big boy car, like, occasionally, whenever you have to, like, drive a U-Haul, right? So I was, like, a nervous wreck, even though everyone was like, dog, it's not that hard. You'll be fine. Just stay in your lane and use your turn signal and don't crash into anything. And I was like, no, I'm terrified. I'm going to die. Anyway, it was fine. It wasn't hard at all, and it was kind of fun driving the big boy car. And then after I finished driving the big boy car, I was so excited, and then I got back to my normal car, and I felt like fucking the fucking bad guy from Danganronpa. I was just like, so boring driving my normal car.
The bad guy from Danganronpa?
The lady. The villain.
Oh, the spoiler villain.
Right, and you know how she has multiple personalities, and one of her, she's just like, thinks everything is so boring?
Yes.
That's how I felt when I was driving my normal, that's how I feel when I drive my normal car now.
I thought you meant Monokuma, and I was like, Monokuma, I don't think has ever been bored.
Yeah.
He's very engaged.
Yeah. Anyway, there was some other stuff too, but just like, just very trying week. Also, my brain still is having a hard time like accomplishing tasks and stuff. So a lot of just like, oh, I can't believe I slept till fucking 3 today. Also stuff like, I don't know, on Monday I went in to try and get an extra shift, and they're like, oh, we're not taking any extra shifts today. And I'm like, okay, but my paycheck needs, my wallet, my bank account needs you to be taking extra shifts today. Like, so anyway, I'm fine, but boy, it was a lot. But hey, in just a few weeks, I'm going to have my little uniform. I'm going to be boop, 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 driving my car and delivering the little package to all little boys and girls. So life's going really good. What about you, Sam?
I honestly don't remember. I had the opposite week of Bernard. I feel like we recorded this podcast yesterday, and here we are today doing it again. I honestly don't remember a single thing that happened this weekend. Almost at all.
Weeks be like that sometimes.
I mean, besides, me and Matt did go out and see the new Mamoru Hosoda picture, which is really good. It's Belle, if you haven't heard of it.
I haven't heard of that or that person.
Mamoru Hosoda is the one that did, most notably to me, and how I found out about him is he did the good part of Digimon Adventure. Not the movie, Digimon the movie. And he then did Summer Wars, which was about some people in a VR version of the internet, kind of like in Digimon the movie. And then Belle is about some people in a VR internet, kind of like Digimon the movie. So he has like a loose trilogy of optimistic views of the internet by way of VR and graphics. And they're super character focused and really fucking good. If you have not heard of this person, you should check out all of their work. They are,
yeah, that sounds great.
They are fantastic. So they like.
I'm just going to assume that these animes all look like those metaverse videos.
No. Please, no.
Did y'all hear that the Italian Senate was having a Zoom meeting of the actual Italian Senate, and then some guy went to do a screen share, and he was watching CG Tifa hentai?
Yeah.
I heard about that, yes. I did not see the CG Tifa hentai.
I
apparently
saw
a
like
lot of
2
people
seconds
did.
of it, but honestly, the whole video was so extremely like dying of like awkwardness that I couldn't watch more than like 2 seconds of it. I was like, all right, I get the idea.
Yeah, that I can't believe people think that old people will be ready to use virtual reality to grab cans off of a shelf when they can't even Zoom
unmute themselves.
They can't unmute themselves, and they can't Zoom in Parliament without showing off their Tifa hentai. But yeah, his movies are amazing, and if you have not seen them, you should check them out. The Girl Who Leapt Through Time is his like breakout picture, but obviously Digimon the movie is my favorite one because of reasons.
Hell yeah.
So going off of that, I also saw Belle. The Girl That Leapt Through Time is my favorite. It's just a beautiful short story that he imagines of time travel. That's really fun. And Consequence, much like Sam kind of pointed out, he's more leaning towards how digital, but a lot of it's family. And in this movie, it's chosen family a little bit, which is kind of fun. And yeah, I liked Belle a lot. I didn't like it as much as Summer Wars. I think I like Summer Wars a little bit more.
Yeah, same.
But it was fun. It was a fun watch. I watched that, and then I had friends. We did walking dates where we walked around each other's neighborhoods, which is really fun.
Oh, fun, yeah.
Kind of just like looking at stuff and just like chatting and catching up. And then I saw the season finale of Yellow Jackets, which is one of the shows I've been kind of watching week by week, which makes me feel like, ancient, because I'm actually waiting episode by episode. But it was well worth it. At least for season 2 that's coming soon.
Yeah, I had never heard of Yellow Jackets until I heard everyone complaining that the season was over because they needed the next season to be out already. And I have no idea what it's about.
According to Google, it's a psychological drama series of some kind.
Yeah,
There's so much television. There's just so much vision. I can't open Twitter without hearing about a new TV show that I need to watch.
It's easy when you just simply never watch any of them.
Yeah. Like, I still haven't watched Succession, any of it.
I still don't even know what it's about.
It's about rich people being bad to each other, apparently.
Well, it's loosely based on Rupert Murdoch's kids in his life, in a memoir he did, and how his kids fought over his empire. He died. It's like a media mogul thing. Yellow Jackets, though, I'll say is fun because it's Lord of the Flies with women, and they go through some. They live in their plane goes down. The soccer team, I think it's about 12 of them, and a few other passengers that aren't on the team. It takes place in '96, and then they're in the wilderness for 19 months until they're found. And then flash forward to today, and you see how it kind of affected their lives. It's pretty fun.
Interesting. I would probably never, ever think about it again.
Yep. Sounds cool.
You enjoyed it.
Never watch it.
It's also on Showtime, and I'm not sure anybody watches Showtime.
I did that one time when they had Twin Peaks on it.
Oh, right. Yeah. So did I. That's what I did, too. I did the free thing.
Last TV show I watched, maybe.
Yeah, I technically have seen a Showtime original television program because I watched Stargate SG-1, which started as a Showtime original before becoming a sci-fi original.
No way.
Since I've watched season 1 of Stargate SG-1, I have seen a Showtime original picture.
Yep.
Wait, are you saying you haven't watched Ray Donovan? I thought everyone had watched Ray Donovan.
That's right.
Oh man, that's a show I'll never watch.
One final thing. I'll think about what I did this week, and I remembered that the Kaiser Permanente therapists went on strike on Monday because of some bullshit I won't go into. Lots of racism, mostly. But which they were striking on Monday. But at that reminded me that an absolute legend died on Sunday. Someone y'all probably haven't heard of unless you follow me on Twitter and saw my tweets about it. But a guy named Mike Parker, who was a not super famous, but actually very, very major figure of the modern American left, in the sense that he's, if you're involved in one of the countless projects that he's touched throughout his life, then you know who he is, right? Co-founder of Labor Notes, for Christ's sake, the main labor publication in America right now. Wrote a book that every single rank and file unionist, anyone who's ever tried to strengthen or reform their union, has read his book, stuff like that. Anyway, he also lives 40 minutes away, and is a guy that I've talked to. Anyway, he died at age super old after having cancer. So everyone knew it was coming. It's still very hard and very tragic. But the last 5 days since he died have just been full of just countless people on Twitter, on various websites, Bernie Sanders, making posts about how great he was, how we all owe a lot to him, blah, 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 blah. Basically, this guy was not one of my mentors, but he was every one of my mentors' mentor. Let's put it that way. Most things I've learned from other people were learned from him first. So he's like my grandpa as far as people influencing other people go, right? So yeah, shout outs to Mike Parker, the absolute GOAT. And his extremely famous book, Democracy is Power, and his other books that I haven't read, and I forget what they're called, but they're also very famous and important. Absolute king. So, yeah, I had to mention that.
So, speaking of things we have to mention, let's listen to some music from this game and then talk about the plot.
Yeah, let's do it. we left that to our heroes. We had just found out that we had just gotten some special runes, which means I'm like, I guess I should probably find out how the rune system works in this game, and I did about 3 hours later. If you recall, last week, the bad guy is Luca Blight. He's from the same country we're from, but he's a psycho and wants to be a crazy army guy. And so even though he's from our country, we're now sort of pseudo-allied with the opposing country, kind of, because we want to stop him. He just burned down like 5 different towns. Okay, so we head west to the town of Muse, where we've been here before, where Victor told us to meet him. But a guard won't let us. With word of Luca's campaign traveling around, they have to be careful of Highland spies. Nanami tries being cute at him, but it doesn't work, and they actually get into a fiery argument. He calls Nanami a frog-faced, whiny tomboy, and she tries to murder the bejesus out of him, but is pulled away by the party.
I like how she literally says, "I'll kill him."
Yeah. One nice thing about playing RPGs
I'll destroy him.
Yeah. One nice thing about playing RPGs on the PSX is that they can have things like that, right? It's fun. Anyway, so we gotta find another way in. They just say, "Oh, we gotta find another way in." So I don't know where to go, right? So I arbitrarily travel west, which was the wrong direction. Turns out this game's world map is really big. I learned a few things. First of all, if you're playing this game, feel free to Google a world map of the game. You need that for 2 reasons. One, it's not a spoiler because there aren't any like secret locations in the game. If you're in a big open field and you see a road going off in one direction, follow the road. There's no reason not to. There's never a reason not to. If you go off the road, there's nothing there. I learned that this week. Secondly, the world map will tell you what all the towns are. That way, when if someone says go to that town, you can go to that town, not go somewhere else. And if you're worried about again, like, oh, but I want to figure it out myself, no. The game's manual, which I read this week, has the world map right there in the manual with all the town names. So anyone playing this game with the manual would have the world map. So most people don't care about that level of curiousness as me, but if you do care, that's my tip, by the way. Just look up the game's manual, look at the fucking world map. Don't do what I did, folks. But anyway, I ended up traveling to the city of Green Hill. We don't have to go here.
Zone.
We don't have to go there, but since I went here, I might as well tell you a little bit about it. It's a university town. There's not much of interest, really. I like a lot of the NPC dialogue, but it's not like lore or plot info, just typical NPC stuff. I love chopping wood, that kind of stuff. You learn a little bit about Annabelle. You also learn about there's a lot of references to other people who are part of this country that I'm sure will be important later. And also, at one point, I acquire, quote, recipe number 20. So apparently cooking is a thing in this game. Then we go to the forest village northwest of Green Hill. They're fur traders in a very small, peaceful village. Also, I get an item called a, quote, old book. So apparently collecting books is a thing in this game. And anyway, then I go to a building that's called the Trading Post, and they have all these commodities, and they talk about how commodities are different prices at different places. So apparently commodity trading is a thing in this game. Yeah. So that's the fun things I just learned. Yeah. If you try to go anywhere else, it's all blocked. Also, from looking at the game's manual, what I recommend that y'all do, we find out that, quote, the city-state is a weird sort of misnomer. It's really a country that is an alliance of 5 different cities.
Yeah, it is a state.
I was wondering about
cities.
Yeah, well, when they say city-state, sometimes they are referring to Muse. I think it's kind of like, I also got really into the podcast, The History of Rome, which is really embarrassing because I've always said that Greco-Roman shit is boring and for fucking nerds. And I played myself because the podcast is really good, and now I care about all this stupid shit for nerds. But anyway, Rome is just the city of Rome. Like, when people say Rome, even though it was this giant empire, they're like, no, Rome is the city-state of Rome. The rest of it is just like, we just own all of that, kind of. So this kind of reminded me of that. So it's like, this is a collection of cities that are all allied together in an alliance, but also Muse is like the main one. And when they use the phrase city state in this game, sometimes they can be a little abstract about a bit loose with it. So keep that in mind. Okay. Anyway, there's 5 cities. One of them's Green Hill. One of them is Muse, and the rest of them we'll find out as we go, because I forgot to write them down. So, anyway, I go back to Muse, and I think, damn, and this is actually really subtle game design. I think, damn, I've been going around the world map so much, I'm kind of beat. I kind of need to stay at an inn. So what do? Just because I needed to restore my health, I stay at the Traveler's Inn, which is near Muse. I stay there because I'm hurt, but it turns out that that's where I had to go. So last time I went to the Traveler's Inn, by the way, a girl was blocking the entrance, or a guy actually was blocking the entrance, and he was like, "Where's Hilda?" But this time Hilda is there, and there's a cutscene. So yeah, turns out that this is the critical path. So Hilda is like, "Welcome to the inn," but then a guy barges in, a guy named Alex, and he's so excited, and he tells Hilda, "I finally found the secret of the treasure. It's these ruins nearby. Everyone thought it was just regular ruins, but it turns out the jewel I've been after is there. I'm going to get it for you, and then we're going to be rich, and you won't have to run this inn anymore. But I need adventurers to help me." Before Hilda can tell him that she really doesn't want him to go searching the ruins for a jewel, he runs out. As you might expect, yes, this was Hilda's hubbo. He's obsessed with treasure. Anyway, we go to bed. In the morning, there is a cute little scene where Toby and Joey are super asleep, so the girls have to forcefully wake us the heck up. In the morning, Alex returns. He says that those jerks in the big city didn't believe him about the treasure. He reiterates his character motivation, which is that he wants to give his wife a good life so that she doesn't have to run this inn out in the boonies anymore, and they can, like, go live in the city and be more wealthy. You probably see where this is going if you're aware of, like, either narrative tropes or human nature. She probably tries to tell him that she's happy. She has everything she needs right here. She doesn't need to be rich and go to the city. She just wants to be in love and live with her husband. But he doesn't listen. Nanami realizes, wait a second, you went to the city, so you've got an entry permit. And he's like, yeah, I'll lend it to you if you help me get the treasure. So here, we have to pick whether to do it or not. This is not a thing where we get an actual choice. I know last week we got to make a lot of choices. This time it's a but thou must. Hilda's animation here shows that she's very upset and nervous about this new development. But if we try to say we don't want to, we get but thou musted. So we are going to help him with this whole treasure thing. So we go to the ruins. It's just a dungeon. It turns out the ruins have some inscriptions on them that are apparently from the ancient kingdom of Sindara. Bernard, is that a thing in Suikoden 1, or is it also lore in Suikoden 1?
I thought it was called Sindar.
Well, whatever. Is it actually a thing in Suikoden 1?
But I don't remember hearing about it in Suikoden 1.
Okay, so yeah, it doesn't develop at all, but I thought I might as well mention it. So we have this whole adventure where we go through a dungeon, and there's a little bit of puzzles. It's the game's first sewer dungeon.
You gotta lower a water level.
Yep. Classic sewer dungeon. We end up getting to the dungeon, and we get to the final room, and there's some inscriptions, and the inscriptions are like, oh, through this room is the thing that your heart wants the most, or whatever. So I'm like, oh, they're going to play some bullshit on us. We're like wondering what it is, you know. We're like, what is your heart? Our characters all wax philosophic. Like, what does your heart want the most? And Joey's like, oh, I just want my family to love me again and for this war to be over. And then Alex is like, what are y'all talking about? The thing I want the most is treasure. So he busts through the door, and we got to fight a boss, and it's not hard. At least not for me. And then we get to the treasure, and we open it, and all it is a damned medicinal herb. Which, for the record, that's not like a stock item in this game. This isn't Dragon Quest, so the potions in this game are like called potion or something. But still, it's a medicinal herb that will, like, you know, cure serious illnesses. And he's like, what the fuck? What the fuck is the fucking treasure? God damn it. So we leave, and that's it. And then when we're walking out of the ruins, he throws the medicinal herb on the side of the ground. And I, as the player, try to grab it, and the game doesn't let you. It doesn't react.
Times.
Nothing happens when you click on it. So we go back to his house, and oh no, what has happened? Hilda is on the ground and she's taken sick. She's extremely sick. She's like sweating bullets and is dying. Nanami is trying to stabilize her. And then I think some of the characters run off to try and go to the city or do something to help. And anyway, so then they're just standing there over her like, fuck, what are we going to do? We, the player, again, know how narratives work. So we leave and we go back to the ruins where the leaf was, and we just literally, there's no dialogue or anything. We just grab the leaf and then come back. And then we're like, hey, look.
I find it hilarious that it, like, when they get it, it's called the healing herb. And they're like, what? Just this healing herb? And no one else thinks, what about the magic healing herb we got from the special place?
Something I thought was funny is, how do they know it's called the healing herb? Can they see the game's UI?
Yeah. Maybe it just looks like it'd heal you.
Yeah, it just seems very healy to me. Anyway, so we give her the healing herb, and it heals her. They do draw out her, like, not sure if it's going to work for quite a while. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not that far into the game. I don't know what kind of game we're playing here. It's already been kind of edgy. A lot of people getting killed and fired, burning down. What if this is the kind of game where it's going to make me cry by having her tragically die, even though I gave her the medicine? But it's not that kind of game. She pulls through. Dragon Quest would have killed her.
Yeah, I was about to say, Dragon Quest, it would have been the one twist you don't see coming in the whole game, and it would have
Especially
happened.
if it was Dragon Quest 6 or 7. Dragon Quest 6 or 7 would have fucking killed her. Anyway, it works, and then he realizes that the thing he wanted all along was right in front of him. But then she's like, okay, but also, like, I know you love treasure. I'm sorry for being such a hard ass about your treasure hunting. Like, look, just be safe. Like, just be safe, please, okay? And don't go crazy, but, like, fine, you can do your whole treasure thing. I know it's like your hobby. So they make up. It's really cute. And then they give us a permit and we go to Muse City. That was totally just a dumb side quest, but whatever.
No, it's not a dumb side quest because the entry permit's going to work and get us in the city without any problems.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. It's even dumber than I thought. I wouldn't have written the side quest down in such detail if I had realized how much we had to play this week. Anyway,
it's really
I just
good.
wanted to bring up really quick.
It is really good. I did quite enjoy it. So we use our permits to enter the city. You know, the whole thing that we just did. Huh?
Anthony was trying to say something.
Oh, what's up?
I was just going to say, this whole Sindar ruins thing, there's like aliens and sort of the enemies, but Joey has like a moment of where he recognizes it, and I think they're foreshadowing something with him about his dad and sort of the adoptiveness.
That's right. Joey's the one who recognizes the script. I didn't write that down. Yeah,
I didn't remember that either.
And then one thing is the enemy in the Sindar ruins, Mr. Venus, which is a moon with like facial hair. I don't know. You couldn't call it Mr. Moon? I don't know. I thought it was so weird. I was like, wait, why is it called Mr. Venus?
You've got a lot of peculiar enemy designs.
Hey, like really random ones.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
yeah, no, thank you for clarifying that. So anyway, approaching the city, we have 2 permits. One is for Alex, and one is for Hilda, 3 actually, and one is for their sweet baby son, Peter. So, Toby pretends to be Alex, Nanami pretends to be Hilda, and our sweet baby son, Joey, pretends to be our sweet baby son, Peter. It doesn't work. They throw us in the slammer for, again, like the 4th or 3rd time in this game.
3rd time. It's been about 4.5 hours of gameplay, and we're in prison for a 3rd time.
Yep. So, in the slammer, Joey and Nanami bicker over who had worse acting. It was Joey. That night, Joey can't sleep, so we talk. He looks up at the moon and reminisces. He says he was always jealous of Toby because we had a family that loved us. He says that when we were young, he would just watch Toby and Nanami from afar. When we were young, tickets going on sale next week. Anyway, he would just watch us, afraid to talk to us, but we approached him instead. He says that he enjoyed the time he spent with Pilika and her family, but in the end, he couldn't save any of them. His new dream is to fight to create peace in the entire land so that people in the future will get to have families that love them that aren't torn apart, basically. He also asks us if we'll ever go back to our hometown. This is the 2nd time a character has asked us this. The first time was Nanami last week, and I responded the same way both times. We'll be back, I'm sure of it. The next morning, Victor and Flick arrive at our cell. They clear up the whole business with the guards, and we're let out. So, cool. He says, meet us at City Hall. We go to City Hall and we meet the mayor, Annabelle. Holy cow, she's really cool. First of all, she's hot, but that's not all. When we enter her office, she's like dealing with a subordinate in like a stern, competent, very cool way. Victor and her discuss the unfortunate recent events and the fact that they seem to be at war again, despite their best wishes. She then notices us and Victor introduces us. She immediately knows who we all are. She knows of Joey because his family is the wealthy Atreides, and she's already heard that their older son was charged with treason. She also knows Toby and Nanami because of our adopted Gramps, Keikaku, who she calls Master Genkaku. She inquires after his health, and she's disheartened to learn of his death, regretting that her country wasn't able to, quote, atone for its, quote, crimes against him. We express confusion, and she says, we'll talk about it later. So that's fun. So given that we're just kids, and the city-state isn't the sort of sickos who would guest starring child soldiers, Victor won't let us join him in army stuff, so he entrusts us to the care of a dude named Jess, who says he'll meet us back at the inn. However, Nanami wants to explore first. Now, I already explored this town last week, even though we didn't have to. But Toby figures there's probably going to be a plot trigger, so we go exploring just in case. Sure enough, we run into Jess again. Turns out, Luca's army is camped nearby, and they're like, oh, you're here? Oh, we're really glad you're here. They want to do some recon, but the only enemy uniforms they've managed to procure are the Children's Brigade uniforms, which works out great because we're Children's Brigaders. So we don the uniforms and set out to go do some guest starring child soldiers. And by we, I mean specifically Joey and Toby. So we cross the border to the northeast into Highland, our party accompanying us through a short forest dungeon before we have to go on alone, wearing our disguises. To elaborate from earlier, the reason for our reconnaissance is that the state army knows that Luca is planning to attack Muse, because the army is amassing nearby, but they don't know what kind of attack. So basically, we're going to try and find out how much food
Provisions
they have.
stuff, yeah.
Provisions, that's the word. How much provisions they have. To see if they're planning to do like a short blitz or like a long-term siege, because of course that's a big thing to know strategically. So we very easily get access to the provisions tent, where we discover they have enough for about 2 weeks. So looks like it's going to be a blitz. Mission accomplished. We go to leave, and oh no, it's Raud. He recognizes us immediately. We try to escape, but the exit is blocked. So we lose our pursuers, and I decide to go in the tent that is bigger than all the other tents, because why not? If you can go in any other tents, I don't know about it.
You cannot. Joey is like, why are we going inside? We need to escape. And then the place you're supposed to go is inside of a tent. I got lost there, and I checked everywhere except for that other tent.
There's nowhere else to escape, so... Yeah. I was like, hey, it's a big tent. Why not? Buddy, it's a big tent, and you ain't in it. Anyway, so it turns out, remember the princess from last week that Bernard reminded us existed? It's her tent. She says, who the heck are you? Then it cuts to black. And it's kind of weird, the storytelling here. She says, who are you? And then it cuts to black. And then we see her again in her room with our guys not there. And then Raud enters. She's like, bruh, how dare you intrude on the damn princess? No, you can't search my room. So he leaves. Then it's revealed that Joey and Toby are hiding behind her bed curtains, I think with knives out, threatening her to play dumb or else. Now that the coast is clear, she says, please put your knives away. And she seems more curious than frightened, and she offers us tea. Then we realize that many people in Highland, including soldiers, civilians, and herself, don't want this war, but Luca has far too much power to be stopped. Also, we learned that Luca is aiming at something even beyond war, something more monstrous, though she doesn't elaborate. As a princess and a woman, she doesn't have any power to stop him. So anyway, eventually we figure it's probably safe to leave, so we try to sneak out of the camp, but turns out Raud saw right through the princess's deception and had been staking out the tent the whole time. Now he has proof that Princess Gilia, I should say her name, Princess Gilia is opposed to Luca. Heck! He sticks guards on us, but once again, they're no match for Buddy Attack. However, the game does the thing where it's like the enemies are too strong, and also we're worried that our friends, who, if you recall, are waiting not far away in the forest, are in danger. So Joey forces us to leave him behind to save our friends while he holds them off. He prays to the Dark Sword rune to give him its full power, and we cut away.
So right here, one thing I realized about the game, and I love it so much, is we suck at being JRPG heroes. Every single one of our plans so far in the whole game has not worked. We have never done anything successfully, and that's awesome.
That is pretty cool. And also, they keep me being like, you're literally kids. We're adults. We're doing the big adult war thing, and you're just kids. So it kind of makes sense. Also, in case you just, missed the drama there, obviously they've been building up Joey and Toby's relationship. And earlier we thought, they're going to get separated and that's going to be the main emotional draw of the game. But no, he came back like 2 seconds later. This time it's like, now he's getting captured. That's it. That's going to be one of the big things in the game. Joey's captured, and we're going to be really sad about that for like the rest of the game or something. Anyway, so back in the forest, sure enough, some guards are attacking our friends, but we save them and we get out of Dodge. We tell them Joey didn't make it. Nanami is sure we'll see him again soon, but Toby is less confident. Back at Muse, we can't find Jess to report to, and Annabelle is in some kind of important meeting, so we go find Flick and Victor. We tell them what happened, and they say, come with us. There's a weird scene where we go back to the Queen's office door, and Flick does something to the guard. Did y'all? Yeah, Victor. What does Victor do here?
He, runs through the guard. I'm pretty sure he assaults the guard.
I guess, but it's weird. It's not very clear. And the guard just kind of goes away, but it's not like he kills him or anything. I don't know.
Victor calls it his weird trick, his good trick, his one weird trick. Yeah. Government officials hate him.
He tried spinning. Anyway, we get past the guard. And we burst into the room, and Flick and Victor are mad as hell at Annabelle and Jess for sending literal kids into danger. It turns out Annabelle doesn't know what we're talking about. Jess was just acting alone. So anyway, we report that the Highlanders have about 2 weeks of provisions. Annabelle thanks us for the critical information, saying now they can start figuring out their battle strategy. She clearly doesn't approve of what Jess did, but she's kind of got a what's done is done attitude. Victor and Flick protest, but they are not heeded, and they storm out angrily. Nanami is worried about Joey and asks if he'll be coming back. We say, don't worry, he will. So she goes outside the city to wait for him. There is then a beautiful scene.
Yeah, very beautiful.
We go outside the city.
This is one of the best scenes in a PlayStation RPG.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's really good. First of all, it's got bespoke graphics. We're outside the walls of the city, so the game goes into that part where you're on the bridge in Chrono Trigger, or the part where you're in the Mystic Forest in FF6, that diagonal sort of view, but with a bespoke background that's not tile based. It's a drawn background. So we're outside the wall of the city, and it's a very simple scene. Basically, Nanami's standing there. It's a beautiful sunset, and she's waiting for him, which is ridiculous. The guy got captured, and it's fully interactive. So she just says, "Oh, you're out here. Thanks for coming out here to see me. Do you think we're going to see, Joey ever again?" And we say, yeah, we believe that we will, even though personally, no, we're not going to. But what are you going to do? Be a jerk to your little sister? So then they just wait for a bit while some beautiful music plays. And then after a bit, a text box appears again. And she's like, it's getting late. There's kind of a lot of war stuff going on. You should go back inside and get some sleep, and you can choose to say, you know what, you're right, or you can wait with her again. It does this a couple times, and every time I pick to wait. And then eventually Pilika appears, and of course it's still mute, right? And you can choose to be okay, hey, Pilika, you take care of Nanami. I'm going to go back inside and go to bed. Or you can say, stay here. So then all three of you are waiting. And it's just really this deep yearning of our best friend that we've grown up with so much. Where is he? And then he fucking comes back.
Yeah, he does.
I was completely shocked. If this scene wasn't so good, I would call bullshit on the plot jerking us around like this, making us think that they're doing the whole plot thing where he's captured for half the game and we're sad about it, and then saying, never mind, he's back 5 seconds later. But it's so good. The camera pans all the way across to the right because it's like a side scroll, and we see him coming from the far right of the screen towards us, and we're just so happy that he's here. Again, beautiful sunset, and he is super touched that all of us, waited so late for him. So yeah, that's that scene.
It's so good.
A week later, Nanami wakes us up in the morning because something is happening up on Joustin Hill. Remember, we're not big heroes. We're just kids. We haven't been doing important stuff. So we climb up this dramatic ascent to the top of the hill, and at the top there's a big building with a guard in front. Victor tells us the leaders of all 5 cities are in the Alliance are meeting to discuss the war, but he'll get us in. So he goes to the guard and says, hey, let me in. I'm the important mercenary leader, Victor. These kids are with me. The guard's like, I don't know who that is. And then Flick shows up, and the guard is like, OMG, it's Flick, and lets us in. Victor is salty about this. So, the Hilltop Conference. We meet the mayors of the 4 other cities, of the other 4 cities, as well as numerous important generals. There's like 10 characters here, and they all have names and character portraits. I will not be recounting them here because I don't remember, and whatever. That would be too much. But I'll, most of them are going to be important later. So Annabelle is like, the army is going to attack us, but the rest of them are kind of like incredulous. They're like, just because an army's massed on the border doesn't mean they're actually going to cross the border and attack. Also, was that attack we heard about at the camp really by them? We heard it was just some bandits. Also, why should we help you defend your city when our people in our city are really struggling right now? Like, economically, we just had a war. Basically, nobody really wants to be back at war again. Annabelle explains that, like, you don't understand, the new leader of the opposing army is Luca Blight, the king's son. He's a complete fucking psycho. He's on the warpath. He's a totally different ballgame. We gotta fight him. Just then, a guard comes in and says, the Highland Army has slaughtered the border guards, and they're on the way. Reluctantly, some of the generals agree, okay, I guess we do need to fight after all. So we return to our inn. Annabelle comes by and asks Victor, she's like, look, the bad guys are going to be here in like 10 days. Sorry, the bad guys are going to be here in like 8 days, but we really need like 10 days to get ready. So like, we really would like you to take your smaller army and just fight them. You just got to hold them off for 2 days, and then we'll have all of our armies together and we can go kick their butts. He's like, that's crazy, but sure. Also, they flirt a little bit. It's really cute and good. We volunteer to fight as well. Annabelle at first refuses, but we insist we're up for it. She's like, okay, but be careful. Actually, I want to mention here that Joey is the one who is very insistent that we fight. Interestingly enough, our only 2 choices are like no or ... Sure, I guess, is interesting. We do get that busted into it. So we do a battle. We do another Fire Emblem battle. Wait. No, sorry. Yeah. I was reading my notes wrong. She says, after the battle is over, I'll tell you about Lord Genkaku. Damn it, Annabelle. That is the one thing how many times have we said this on this podcast? The one thing you're not supposed to do is don't say that you're going to do something later. Anyway, so we go have the battle. It's kind of confusing mechanically. Luckily, it's kind of just a plot battle. You don't have to do anything. During the battle, Victor realizes that an old friend of his is fighting for the enemy. What a jerk. So they're doing that like Fire Emblem thing where there's like cutscenes like in the middle of the battles and stuff. So yeah, so he do y'all remember the friend's name?
Gilbert, yeah.
Like,
if you'd been playing Trails in the Sky, you'd remember his name as Gilbert.
God damn it,
he's like, I can't believe Gilbert's fighting for the enemy. So he ends up like, you don't get to control Victor's little tactical character. So he actually walks up to Gilbert and ends up having like an in-battle conversation with him. After shooting him with fire guns, convinces him to join our side, and which means that the sprite actually like changes to our color. And then he actually sacrifices himself to kill some enemies and save Victor. We don't know if he's dead, but he has been injured and is out of the battle. But it's kind of played like he's dead. So after that, I wrote General Milyukov, which is not correct. That's a joke. It's a reference to the Russian Revolution. I don't remember his actual name. General Milyukov appears to help us, one of the generals from the other armies, and we're like, oh my gosh, y'all are actually here to help us. That's great. But then after a bit of a very difficult battle, General Camus, that's not a joke, that is his name, arrives and says that there's orders for Milyukov to retreat. He really doesn't want to, but he follows orders. So we're like, what is this allied nation pulling out of the battle at the last fucking minute? Are they leaving us to the dogs? What the hell's going on? We're confused and upset, but luckily, a few more turns, we have bought enough time, and the battle is in fact over. The enemies pull out, despite the fact that they were completely kicking our ass. But whatever. Good job, everybody. So that night, we're back in town. Nanami seems to want to ask us a question. I'm guessing she wants to fight with the boys. But then she says, never mind. Also, in Joey's room, we see that he's talking with the mysterious ninja. The ninja is like, yes, as you command, and then disappears. So that's not good. He then, Joey, wonders to himself whether he's taking the right path. The next day, we remember, oh yeah, we were going to learn all about General Keikaku from Annabelle. We go to her office, and she's talking with Lord Gustav from the city of Tinto. Gustav is saying Tinto's not going to be committing troops to this battle. It turns out that these people have long-standing beef with each other from previous wars and treaties and whatnot, so that's why all this negotiation's going so hard. It's like, anytime you say, we got to prepare for the battle, they'll be like, oh, that's big talk coming from the person who thing from the past that they still have beef over, right? That's sort of the vibe here. Annabelle says, this is going to be a while, y'all. Can y'all come back in the evening? So we leave. But Joey stays behind and asks Annabelle, why are you fighting? What do you hope to gain from this war? She says, nothing. I'm fighting because Muse is my home, and it's natural that someone fights because they don't want to lose their home. That's it, though. Like, it's a defensive war. We're fighting to keep what we have. He's like, okay. So back in the end, Joey seems hesitant, but then he asks Nanami to look after Pilika for him and goes out by himself. Nanami is worried about him. We go up to the palace, but see off to the side in a dark corner, Joey talking again with Luke Cage. Oh, sorry, that joke doesn't read because you don't know that the ninja's name is Cage.
It's probably Kage.
That makes more sense. Well, I don't know that. I'm a 9-year-old playing a game I got from Blockbuster. I don't know it's Japanese.
He's
Anyway,
probably Cage and wields the Masamune.
Exactly. So Cage, who wields the Masamune, vanishes. And we approach Joey. We press him to tell us what the hell are you doing, but he's very evasive. Then he tells us, buddy, this war ain't gonna end for a long time. If something happens to me, please take Pilika far away from here. So that night, we see Annabelle alone in her private room, unable to sleep. Someone knocks at the door. It's Victor. He asks if he can stay and talk. Another great scene here. He pours her some special wine that he managed to save from his forced destruction. She says even with all their forces, she's worried that they can't beat Luca, and part of her just wants to surrender. Victor says there's some things you just can't do. Everyone is fighting to protect something, including you. And they all need your courage and support so that they can do the fight that they want to do. So that's why, if nothing else, that's why you can't give up. He says it's time for bed. And then she says something cute. She says that, again, it's just like they're about to have the big battle. So everyone's kind of in their feels, right? So she's like, man, if I'd been born in a different time and place and also was maybe a little shorter, I'd have been a good girlfriend to you. And he says, I think you're perfect the way you are, but maybe I'm not. This is explained more later, but I think it's pretty clear that the idea is here that he's just a random bandit and she's a rich politician, so he's not really her type. Back in the inn, we finally decide to go see Annabelle. The guard says, oh, she's in her private room. Feel free to go ahead. Your friend is already there. Friend? What could this extremely obvious foreshadowing be building up to? Back in Annabelle's room, there's another knock at the door. It's Joey. She says, oh, what do you want? She pulls out a knife and says, I want to kill you. She remains at her seat because she's the coolest person in the world, and she takes a drink. She says, is this really what you want? I've got a city that I have to protect. Do you have something like that? And he says, yes, I do. Then she says, do you really have the resolve? Can you bear the burden of killing me? And he says, yes, I have a reason to bear that burden. She takes another sip of the drink, and she says, well, even if I yelled, it would be too late for me. But can you please just let me finish this wine? A dear friend gave it to me. He says, sure. And as she drinks her wine, he kind of like, his sprite kind of looks to the side and lowers his arm. And then she's like, buddy, you shouldn't ever fucking let your guard down. So she rushes him really fast. And then the screen flashes, and we don't see what happens because we're back with Toby. So Toby walks to the left. Huh?
I was going to say, this scene, just so much tension and sprites. It's crazy. Just the positioning, it's just perfectly, it's so masterful. I was like very
ridiculous. Impressed. Also, this room is enormous. Mm-hmm. Which, I don't know, that's weird to me. It's an interesting choice that the room is so big, even though it's like her private room. It's just like her on a chair with a table in like the middle of a huge fucking room. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we walk to the left and we enter the room, and we see Annabelle lying on the floor with Joey over her. We're like, what the fuck? But Joey runs off. Jess and Victor run in and are like, oh, yo, we gotta get a doctor. And one of them runs off. And then we learn that the Highlanders did a surprise night attack and are literally entering the city as we speak. Annabelle tells Toby to tell Jess not to bother getting a doctor because she's already gone. She then says that she regrets not having the time to tell us about Genkaku and what the state did to him. But she doesn't have time to tell us anything else, but she does have time to say one more thing before she dies, which is that she asks if Genkaku was happy with his family in his final years. We tell her yes. And then she says, please leave. So we leave, and then
that's where we're going to stop, is when she tells us to leave.
Oh, okay, cool, good. Yeah. That makes sense. So she tells us. So she tells us to leave, and then alone by herself with no one in the room, she says to herself, "I think that fate sent Toby to her." And then she dies. I'll go a little bit farther because we literally can't stop the game here. We
Maddy,
run
I
back.
think she says, did he atone for his sins too? Like the way that she like positioned.
I thought that she said that. I thought she was talking about her. Really? Huh?
Oh,
maybe she did.
Yeah. Because then I think her character has the option where it's like atone for his sins, like question mark, before it's like croak goodbye. I don't know. Am I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't see that in the Let's Play, so maybe.
No, I only remembered constant references to her needing to atone.
Yeah.
I don't recall any references to him having done anything. Yeah. I mean, look, if he did something wrong, we'll find out later, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, he did do something wrong. He did something wrong before he was born. That's how sin works. We all know it.
That's right. We all need atonement because of the original sin. That's right, Bernard. So anyway, so she dies. Back in the town, it is now technically a town dungeon where we will run into random battles with soldiers, but you're only in this town for like a second, so if you're me, you only have one battle. But I think theoretically you could have more if you ran around. So we run back to the inn because we're like, we got to save Nanami. That's the number one thing. Not only is it what we already want to do, but it's also what we promised Joey that we would do. And you still got to honor your friend's final wishes, even if he just betrayed everyone and murdered the hottest character in the game. So we run back to the inn to save Nanami, and we grab her. Leona is still there, and she's like, Victor and the others escaped. A lot of people did manage to escape from this town. They just sort of ran in random directions. Everyone's going to rendezvous at South Window, which is a town quite a bit to the south of here. We're going to have to go south to the town of Coronet. and then take the boat from Coronet to whatever the town south of Coronet is, and then we're gonna have to go south even more from that town to get to South Window, which is one of the other major cities in the city-state. Also, as a bit of important info, if you were to look at this game's world map, you'd see that all of there's a big lake in the center of the region. So all 5 of the city-states are like around this big lake. So it's you're basically like going from what's the name of the city?
Muse.
Damn it, I can't remember. Whatever the city is on the west end of Michigan. Anyway, you're going from there to Chicago, basically. And then maybe we'll go. Yeah, it's around. It's like I'm just trying to make a reference to Lake Michigan.
It would help to make that reference if you could remember the names of the things you were referencing.
That's true. Yeah. Well, the problem is that there isn't a major Michigan town. I mean, the major Michigan town is Detroit, but they also have a city on Lake Michigan, but it's actually a much less important town than
Isn't it Lansing in East Lansing?
There's that one too. Good point. I hadn't thought about that one. Good point. Anyway, so yeah, we're gonna go around to the other side of the lake, basically. So that's our goal. We have a second to save, so we can save. Everyone's scattered to the winds, and we gotta try and figure out what the fuck is going on. Great place to stop, and we'll find out what happens next week. I'll spoil it. It's a bunch of side quests.
So I know that I said stop earlier. You said do a little more, but now I want to do a little more from what you said, because there's a great scene right outside of town where
I was considering doing that scene. Go ahead, go for it.
So you rush out to get to safety, and you just rest under this tree, and the camera goes down low again, and Pilika falls asleep in Nanami's lap, and she basically is like, Joey obviously didn't kill her. Something else must have happened. Joey is our friend. He would never do something like that. But the main thing I want to do is just fucking run away. Like, let's just get away from war, find a cabin on some mountain somewhere, and never do any of this. But that can never happen now. So, good night.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good scene. Also, I'm noticing just now, Sam, as you mentioned this, that one cute thing about the plot here is that we, the player, have very, very, like, almost 100% obvious knowledge that Joey killed Annabelle. I guess we don't, like, literally see it happen because of the filmmaking, how it cuts away. But, like, you know, we saw her with the knife and saying, "I'm going to kill you." But no one in the party saw that. All we saw was that he was standing over her and she was dead, which is like pretty damning, but not quite as damning, right?
Not in a Phoenix Wright game.
Exactly. You know, maybe he arrived after she had died, or maybe he failed to save her and that's why he ran away or something. Whatever. Like, if these characters want to believe that he wouldn't do it, it's actually, it makes sense to a degree. Also, you know, denial and all that. So I just wanted to point out that detail for those not playing along. Cool. Yeah, that is it for this game, for this week.
Yeah. So let's listen to some more music, and then we'll talk about our various memorable moments.
So I want to go first because I have some from last week. I don't remember if anyone brought up this line that someone said early in the game, an NPC, but an NPC, when you return to Ryubei Village, says, "It looks like someone defeated the Mist Monster. I was planning to do it myself soon anyway."
I saw that. It was really good.
Also, I believe in Ryubei Village, there's a character you can recruit named Zamza. Mm-hmm. And when you go to recruit him, he and Nanami get into a fight, and Nanami's like, "Whatever, we don't want to recruit you anyway." And Zamza's like, "But I'm strong. I've got good moves. I look good. I'm
really
perfect
good.
in every way. How could you say you don't need me? And I just love that line. I've got good moves.
Also, just like she literally negs him into joining your party. It's very funny.
Mm-hmm. And then just the fucking waiting for Joey scene is one of the best scenes in an RPG on the PlayStation, I think.
Yeah, it's
really so long.
Also, I didn't mention it, but like this game has a bunch. This week has a number of scenes. The scene when you're in the slammer for the third time, not even an important scene, but it does the bespoke background side view. That's actually the first time it does it. And I was like, oh, it's very cool.
Yeah, so
and also it has a background where they're looking up at the moon.
Yes.
And also that scene is very romantic.
Yeah, it is.
So the scene where they're waiting for Joey was because I had looked up back when I was deciding what I wanted to be in this block between it and Wild Arms. So I saw this scene, which is 3D polygon background with sprites on it. And I was like, oh, okay, that will be the theme. It will be sequels of 2D games that went into a pseudo 3D. This game is not in pseudo 3D. This scene is the only scene in the game that's in pseudo 3D like this. The rest of it is not like that at all. Any more, Bernard?
No.
What about you, Anthony? What do you got?
So when we were fighting the two-headed snake, one of the things I tried was the rune spell.
Duo. I was going to make a Tsuchinoko joke, but I fucked up. Go ahead.
No, you can take it again.
No. You go ahead.
But no, so Joey's Black Heart rune, one of the spells does like 500 damage, and for so early on in the game, it's crazy. And you can use it like multiple times. I think it's like 3 times, and it would kill any boss. So I thought that was like, oh god.
Can you use it a lot at this point in time, or did you go in and cheat?
Oh, maybe because he's leveled. Yeah, because he's leveled. You're right.
I could only use it once.
Sorry, what move is this again?
His third level spell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do any grinding, but I think at one point I was able to use it twice.
Yeah,
I could only use it once.
I am incredibly overleveled. I'm like level 50 something.
Oh my gosh.
Joey can not only use his 3rd level spell, he can use his 4th level spell, which is an anime FMV when he uses it.
Oh, that's so dope.
Like, imagine wasting disk space on the PlayStation 1 to put in an FMV just for some dude's ultimate attack.
Yep.
Which is cool.
It's fucking cool. Oh, I will say, I did, maybe this is why I could use it despite not really doing any grinding at all. I did find a, like, Dragon Quest equivalent of, like, a magic seed. And since Joey had the highest magic stat, I gave it to him, raising it even further. So maybe that's why I could use it twice.
Maybe so.
And the town design got a lot better. Like, I noticed it in Muse. It was just like, I think I went to Muse before, but just like noticing how the town was set up and like sort of the extra rooms and exploring City Hall and like how they they give you little bits of everything and they don't overwhelm you. And then even doing that Star Wars Senate scene, we were seeing all these other towns and they're just like debating on whether the Empire's even not. Was really good. Yeah, it was just really beautiful and great story.
Yeah, the town design gets a lot better until the town we get to be our home base at the part of this week that we didn't talk about. That design sucks, and I'm mad that it's our home base for the rest of the fucking game because I can never fucking find my way out of that fucking building. But that's for next week.
Oh, we also get Tuta, who you can recruit her in Muse City. That's one other thing I think.
Yeah. When I was following along with the Let's Play while Maddy was talking, I missed like 4 characters that I didn't even realize you could get at this point. It felt like super tight, like there wouldn't be opportunities. And like I ran into characters a lot that would have character design and a portrait, and I'd be like, oh, how do I get them? And I would look up, and like Sheena, you get later in the game. There's this dude with blue hair that's running around in circles, and you get him way later in the game, and all these things are way later. And I'm like, okay, cool, I didn't miss anything, and turns out no, I just didn't look hard enough at all.
I had the same experience. There were a lot of times when I intentionally explored to try and find characters, and all I found was characters that I can't get. But then apparently there were other times when I missed a bunch of fucking characters.
Oh well.
One gripe though is inventory management. Because you get like random things.
Don't gripe about inventory management in this game if you haven't played Suikoden 1. Because holy shit, in Suikoden 1 is it rough.
Well, yeah.
I'm joking, you can gripe.
Because you get like random recipes and books and then something called a sound set. And I'm just like, but no, I don't have any room. Is there a box I can put this stuff in? What do I do with all these things?
So in the Mercenary Fortress, there is someone you can deposit stuff with. The game never tells you this, but you can deposit stuff with her. However, as far as I know, during the whole part where your home base is in Muse, as far as I know, there is no one you can deposit stuff with.
Yeah.
I'm guessing once we get to our new castle, she'll be back, I'm guessing.
Yeah. What about you, Maddy? Did you have any more to bring up?
I had a few minor ones. One is I really thought I got a screenshot of whatever. I'll get to it in a second. Some of the ones that I found are this is weird, but a lot of objects in this game you can click on and get a little text box. It's like very common. Like right at the beginning of the game, you're like walking around like a house, and there's like a vase with some flowers in it, and you click on it, and the game's just like vase with flowers. And I like it. It's weird because it's like, I guess they're like, in case the pixel art you couldn't tell what this is, we can let you know. That way you can just know that this room has a vase with flowers in it. Just builds up the world sense, right? Still very strange. It's very, very, very common. Like I got a screenshot of me clicking on a tightly closed gate, and it says tightly closed gate. I guess I wouldn't know that it was tightly closed if it wasn't for the text box. Let's see. Some more bespoke animations. There's one of Victor sitting sideways in a chair with one hand on a table while drinking wine with Annabelle. It's just like they made a picture of a guy putting his hand sort of gently on a table while like halfway, because he says that while he's saying, all right, it's time for me to go. So he's like halfway getting out of his chair, pushing up from the table. Like it's absurd. I've never seen that level of fucking bespoke sprites. And yeah, there's one that we didn't even get to this week that is just even more fucking nuts. Anyway, maybe I didn't screenshot it, which is insane. But when you're in Green Hill, there is a possible reference to Sonic the Hedgehog. There's a reference to a guy with blue hair who's running around.
Is his name Stallion?
Yes, his name is Stallion.
He's in the first game.
Yeah, he joins the party again.
Yeah. Oh, I guess that was the guy they were talking about. I hadn't met Stallion yet, so I'd forgotten. Anyway, it's funny that I was like, that's either a really bad reference to the fact that this town is Green Hill Zone, or it's a coink of dink. Anyway, also in Green Hill, though, there's this girl who you talk to, and she's like, oh my gosh, the instructor or something, or the person who works at that one place whose name is also girl name. I'm just, oh man, she's so cool. I got some big feelings. About her. I think I've got a crush, and I'm like, lesbians. This character is a lesbian.
I thought that in Suikoden 1, and it turned out to not be a lesbian.
Okay, well, in this one, it's not subtle. And this is not a named character, it's just an NPC. So, like, but I'm like, no, this NPC character is saying she's got a crush on another character who's a girl. This is great. Big fan. You couldn't do that on Super Nintendo. You couldn't have lesbians. They hadn't invented CD-ROM technology, so they couldn't have lesbians in the game, okay?
Couldn't even have lesbians on the GameCube because the discs were so small.
The discs are too small for lesbians. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. We're only at hour 10, so I want to briefly go over the battle system just because we didn't do it last week, and we always talk about the battle system of a game, so I want to do that.
That segues nicely into one of my memorable moments about the battle system. So
let's get the battle system was really neat. It seemed really weird when I first started, and then I realized it was just graphics. First time I ever got into a battle, I just mashed A and said, okay, everyone attack the same guy. And then what happened? Like, 3 of my characters jumped and attacked at the same time. And I was like, what? And then the enemies attacked at the same time. And I was like, oh my god, what is going on with this game? Later, I just found out that it's an extremely fucking dope graphical flourish. The game actually has Dragon Quest style combat. It's round-based. You make all your commands, and then they get executed. But here's how it works, okay? Say Joey and Toby are the first 2 to attack based on Dragon Quest style agility scores, and then after that, one of the enemies attacks. So since it's 2 of my guys attacking before the enemy, the game just makes them attack at the same time. If you look carefully, the one who goes first does go like a couple frames before the second guy, so it is clear what the turn order is, but like it looks like everyone's just jumping into battle. And what's also cool is I had them all attack the same guy, but then they all attack different guys, and I was like, what? Turns out that even though they're all attacking, quote, simultaneously, the game's already done the calculations. So if the game determines that the first person is going to kill the enemy, then the second person, redirects their target. When that happens in other games, it's obvious because one guy attacks and then the next guy attacks, and he attacks a different guy because the first guy is dead. In this, the guy's not dead yet. He's just gonna be. So it just seems like your character just automatically targets someone else. It's really cool. Anyway.
Yeah, and it makes combat fast, which is needed when the parties can be 6 of your guys and 9 of their guys.
Yeah. So anyway, here's how the battle system works. It's pretty much just, there's 3 battle systems in this game, but the main one is, it's pretty much just Dragon Quest, except you see both your guys and their guys, so it actually is laid out like, Breath of Fire. Makes sense, because Konami, Capcom, anyway. Exactly. Well, I'm saying that the 2 companies, I think, are very similar in a lot of ways. They make similar kinds of games, have similar vibes. But anyway, your characters are arranged in 2 rows, so the front row and the back row. So you have a maximum of 6 characters, which is wild. And the enemies can have a bunch as well. And yeah, you just select your attacks. But if you're in the front, there's 3 different ranges of attacks. So short range, your front row guys, if it's a short range, you got to be in the front row, and you can only attack their front row. If you're a middle range weapon, you can be in the front or back row, but you can only attack the enemy's front row. And then a long range weapon, you can attack the enemy's back row. So that's pretty neat. And then like you got spells and stuff. Enemies will have moves that like will go through one column. So they'll attack one of your characters and then also hit the guy behind them. Stuff like that. So there's a little bit of stuff with like spatial arrangement and stuff. So even though it's not a huge thing, I have been like pairing up which characters behind which character based on just like what makes sense to me plot wise, like in their character personalities. Like obviously I put Joey and Toby together. So you have attacks. You have magic I'll go into in a minute, which mostly uses, it's just magic, right? But I'll go into it in a minute. But then there's Unite, which are Chrono Trigger style combo attacks, but really I would say they're more like Sailor Moon style. They remind me of those because first of all, they take no MP. They take no MP. You can use them all the time. There's no reason you can't use them all the time. And Toby and Joey have one called Buddy Attack, which is insanely OP, and you use it every single turn. And I realize now that won't be happening anymore. RIP to Buddy Attack.
Have y'all used Family Attack?
Yeah, Family Attack is not as good.
Have y'all seen have y'all seen the animation that happens randomly?
Okay, you explain it. Yeah,
so
tell us.
Normally when you use family attack, Toby and Nanami attack the enemy together, but sometimes instead of attacking the enemy, Nanami will attack like once or twice and then sit down and like start drinking tea and reading a book and eating a snack. It's great. I love her.
It's so fucking funny. And
I've never seen that. That's amazing.
I've never seen that
interesting. So I'm realizing the game has a bit of a balance. It's not just like, here's amazing attacks that are free. A lot of the attacks have like side effects. So one of the guys in my party has an attack where it does double damage, but it also hurts him for a certain amount, and that's a free action. And then I have another character, the family attack. Typically, when you use it, the two characters attack in unison and do a really cool combo family attack, and it does a bitch ton of damage. But then what it does is it makes Nanami have to lose a turn.
It's interesting. Nanami actually gets a status effect called Unbalance, which is also a thing in Suikoden 1, so I've already learned how it works. Basically, when you're unbalanced, you can defend or use an item.
You're right, it's not totally lose a turn. Yeah.
Basically, like last game, I would always have Victor in my party, and I had him with a certain rune that allowed him to do a really powerful attack, but then basically do 2 times damage and then become unbalanced. And you might think, well, 2 times damage, why not just attack twice? But on his off turns, he could be on healing duty, which was really useful.
That is cool. Also, you can like unbalance enemies. Yeah, it's a really cool little like sort of soft lose a turn that's really helpful. But funny thing is, if you get the alternate animation with Nanami where she like chills out instead of actually fighting, she doesn't become unbalanced and is healed for a little bit. I also think the attack does less damage, though I couldn't quite tell because she wasn't helping. Anyway, so that's how the game works. You got all these, you got these combo moves. I haven't gotten very many of them. And finally, you have magic. Runes are very interesting. They cost money, and they have to be equipped to your characters by a special NPC who equips runes. You can't just do it like in the menu or something. And it's sort of like, FF1 D&D style where you have spell slots. But it's a little bit interesting because you still get to mix and match them like they're FF6 Magicite or something. So like or I guess actually they're like materia actually. So yes, like you put the wind rune on someone and that theoretically has like 4 spells, like a level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 spell, right? And the number of times you can use them depends on your magic stat. So whatever your magic stat is, that determines how many spell slots you get. So it just so happens that like Joey has like 2 level 3 spell slots, 6 level 1 spell slots, etc., etc. Whereas like Toby has far fewer spell slots. And if you don't have any spell slots at a certain level, then you just can't use that level. So you don't level up the runes. It's not like material you have to level them up. How much of them you can use just depends on your character's stats and how much of magic you can access. Yeah, and there's a whole bunch of them already. Like every town's got different ones. I've only a little bit experimented with them. And it's across the board. If you have multiple runes equipped, your spell slots are just, you can cast 6 level 1 spells regardless of what rune they're coming from. And finally, the game's manual doesn't say this, and the game doesn't say this, but it is clear that there are sometimes runes that have passive effects. One of them is like, you can attack twice every turn, but if the enemy attacks does a counterattack, it does double damage. That's one of them. And another one it gives, earlier when I mentioned the attack that does double damage but hurts the guy who does it, that actually wasn't a unite attack. I misspoke. It's a rune move that doesn't require any spell slots to use. It's just a free action that you get because you have the rune equipped. So yeah, it's not actually as complicated as I thought, because I had originally put it off because it seemed very complicated, but it's really not. It's pretty simple. And finally, you don't buy new weapons in this game. You have to sharpen them, which again, sounds weird and complicated. It's actually quite simple. You go to the weapon sharpener, you say, yo, sharpen my weapon, and he sharpens it. And each level of sharp costs more money. And also, as you go through the game, the weapon sharpeners get better at doing that. So you can sharpen your weapons to higher levels. So it's just like, hey, you got to a new town. Is there a weapon sharpener? If you have the money, have them sharpen all your weapons. Congratulations. Now you do more damage.
And
so that's the game system.
One of my memorable moments is the pupper that we saved or got on our team last week, Shiro. Being a pupper, does not wear any equipment and does not have any weapons. So he levels up all of his stats based around just his level. I, having access to the in-game zone of Matilda, have level to go around. Matilda does not have any weapon sharpeners and only has a handful of armorers. So Shiro now is redonkulously good because I haven't had to get in-game items for him. He just has leveled up. So he is real freaking good. So if your money is tight, put Shiro in your party because Shiro rules.
Ooh, Shiro is the monk character.
Yes, but is a pupper. Like an actual pupper, not a kobold. As a dog.
Cool.
Yeah, I really liked Shiro. I only played with Shiro at all. I wasn't planning on it because Shiro was not one of the ones I took with me to Matilda in the first place. But I guess Storm was messing with my controller, or I mashed through something or something. But I took Humphrey, the super badass tank person that I went to Matilda to get. I had accidentally taken him out of my party. And then I had 3 hours of gameplay where I was not in control of my party. I just had to take whoever I had. So I had Shiro in it. And now I love Shiro, and I'm not going to ever get anybody else.
Hell yeah. I don't have any super strong feelings about my party characters right now mechanically. I'm kind of just shuffling them around and figuring out what happens. I don't really know yet.
Yeah, the only ones that have cool mechanics besides Joey and Rio having their special runes, because their special runes are really good. Rio's is fucking phenomenal. It's like a full party heal for his level 3, which is just fucking nuts. But, besides them, the only one that's like mechanically interesting is Bolby, or whatever the fuck the circus man is, and that's just Golgan. But he's mechanically interesting, but I don't think he's actually interesting to play. He has bespoke mechanics, but I don't like them. But everyone else, I just put on some magic and do some magic shit.
I have 2 badass sword ladies, and I think they're both in my party permanently. Hannah and Anita.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Hannah. She's awesome. And after she joined my party, and she said, the game said, do you want her to join your party right now or send her back to the camp? I said, go back to the camp, because I didn't want to use my brain and try to, like, you know, change. I don't want to deal with change. And then I forgot about her. She's hot.
Yeah, Hannah's great. I didn't figure out how to get Anita. I figured this was, again, one that I should come back for. But apparently I just talked to her incorrectly, and I needed to leave the inn and try again.
You apparently can get her later.
Wait, I'm sorry. Is Anita... you can get her? Oh my god.
Yeah.
I have a screenshot of her that I didn't share as a mem because you can't really do screenshots from memorable moments. But yeah, she's...
Yeah. Yeah, there's
very well down that apparently I missed. You can get her.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool characters in this game, and I think most of the I can't wait until I figure out how they get in my party ones are going to be next week. So I think I'm about done. Does everyone else have anything else they want to add before we go?
No.
Oh, one thing I liked is you find out that Nanami is older than you. And that she's not biologically your sister, which I didn't know initially. Based on
I think she was. I think she was being cheeky when she called herself your big sister.
Never mind. I was like, oh, okay, then maybe that's true.
I don't recall that scene either way, so I cannot weigh in.
I feel like it's been established that she's younger than you. And I feel like she was being cheeky when she said that. I don't know. I've seen Japanese medias where that exact cheeky thing has happened.
Nanami rules, by the way.
I love her. I was looking at like some old like game FAQs forum or something to find some information, and someone was like, "Fuck Nanami," and I'm like, "What? How do you not like Nanami?
How dare?"
She feels like the central character too, like one of the main. Like I feel like I.
Oh yeah,
she's towards than the main guy or the guy we're playing as, I guess.
Yeah, she's not a talent protagonist for one thing. Yeah, and I mean, I like how the times when the characters ask you how you feel about things, and like you're just reflecting their emotions. Like they're the ones that have emotions. You just get to like agree or disagree with them, basically. But yeah, no, it's a real good time. I can't wait to see what happens next. Well, I guess I already know because we stopped early this week. But I guess I should mention the game has 2 other battle systems. One of them is like Fire Emblem, and I don't so far think it's good mechanically.
Better than the big war battle system in Suikoden 1, because that's barely a battle system. You just have 2 armies next to each other, and you choose charge, magic, or bow, and it's literally rock, paper, scissors.
You choose charge or don't.
Exactly.
There's also a second battle system, which is a one-on-one battle system. The graphics are awesome, very cinematic and cool. We've only had 2 in the game so far.
If I recall correctly, there were only 2 total in Suikoden 1, so maybe we're done with it.
It's I don't know the mechanic. I think it's rock paper scissors thing. But the one that I played, it didn't matter because if you recall last week, the person you're fighting just says that you have to prove yourself by hitting them one time. So it's not a win or lose; it's a plot battle. Yeah,
and this
it is a rock paper scissors thing.
This one, the next week, I was really over leveled, so even when I lost, I dealt 59 damage and they dealt 0 damage. So I don't know how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, basically you have 3 attacks. You have, like, if I recall, it's like attack, defend, or like critical attack. And yeah, it's probably like a critical attack breaks their defense. You know, it's like fighting games. If you attack and they throw you, then then there you go. But if you attack and they defend, then blah 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 blah. Whatever. Look, the point is both those battle systems are kind of just gimmicks. And the main battle system is really easy. I've done 0 grinding. I've done a little bit of using my brain and buying runes, and I've been fine. So don't fucking worry about that.
Yeah, I'm glad that I went and I did the side quest Supreme last week, because it was really hard and really fun to do, and it means I'm not actually missing out on anything because the rest of the battle system is easy. So now that it's trivial for me, it's fine.
Totally.
But yeah, that'll about do it for the week. If you like what you heard, you could check us out on the web at www.rpgbook.club, where any donation there will help us out, keep the lights on, help us pay for games, those sorts of things. And any donation that you give will get you access to the Book Club no Kaseki podcast about a month before everyone else does. Right now, because we did so many at the end of the year, it's actually like a month and a half. That probably won't last very long, but yeah, you can go and do that. You also can find their merch that we have. I'm probably going to end up making some more of these text box shirts, because I made one for Legend of Dragoon, and for Mystic Quest, when we were doing it, I found another extremely good text box. So that one's probably coming soon.
It was such a good text box.
So that one's coming soon. Look out for that. And yeah, I think that's it. So for RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Hauk.
And I'm Maddy Grace Webben, who is also excited to start recording Final Fantasy 13 in 2 days. 13-2, I mean.
And I'm Anthony Lerma.
There we go.
Toodaloo, folks.
Bye.
played a lot of this chapter on mute while I was working. Does anyone have any particular bangers for me to put in?
There's lots of good music in this video game,
but I can't think of anything in particular. Also, I actually also had to play the back half of it or so on mute due to the circumstances, annoyingly.
Okay, I'll just.
What is even the point of playing a video game if it's on mute?
For real.
It sucks, but it means that when people are trying to tell me that their email has never done this before, I can just tune them out and play Suikoden 2 instead.
Yeah.